Guests who have handed over their car keys for valet parking may kindly collect them from the Palace Hall's parking area at the close of the evening. For your convenience, the washrooms are located at your left and right exits. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, we invite your attention to a short safety advisory AV carrying important information for your comfort and safety during the evening.
Dear guests, we request you to pay attention to the following important safety announcements. Keep your mobile phones on silent mode. Take a moment to locate the nearest emergency exit in the venue. Locate the closest firefighting equipment. Please maintain safe distance from all event equipment like lights, truss, sound, LED and cameras. Remember that no fire or security drills are scheduled today. So if you hear the alarm, exit the venue from the closest exit. Do bring any suspicious activity or object to the notice of the venue or event staff. Do not smoke in the venue unless it is marked as a smoking zone. Do not panic in emergency situations. Remain calm and follow the instructions. Have a safe event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the wait is over. We now invite you to immerse yourselves in the story, spirit, and celebration of an extraordinary legacy as the main show begins.
Good evening, distinguished guests, friends, and family. It is my honor to welcome you to this very special Centennial celebration of the Bajaj Group. I'm Sanjali Bajaj, the oldest in the 5th generation and often known as the favorite grandchild, much to the dismay of all my brothers. We are deeply grateful to share this evening with so many of you who have been part of the Bajaj story in so many different ways. 100 years is not just a celebration of time gone by, but a tribute to resilience, purpose, and a family that kept moving forward. When such a milestone arrives, it invites us to pause, reflect, and honor the journey that has brought us here. What began here was never only a business, but a set of ideals that have shaped every chapter since. Each generation has added its own strength and vision, but the thread that holds us together has remained unchanged. I think back to conversations with my dada, Rahul, to most of you, who often reminded us that progress isn't measured in awards or moments of acclaim, but in the consistency of our values, our choices, and our intent. And that is what makes this century of effort truly meaningful and what guides us into the future. But this milestone belongs not only to my family, but to the many people who have shaped, strengthened, and stood with this group across generations. Our colleagues, partners, employees, mentors, and friends. This evening honors a pursuit that shaped who we are today. We want to share glimpses of how our legacy has evolved through the people who built it, the values that guided it, and the defining moments that turned vision into reality. My dada always said, we must not be prisoners of our pasts, but continually look at the world with new eyes. And that is exactly what tonight is about. Gratitude for where we came from and optimism for what lies ahead. It is about recognizing a journey that has moved in parallel with something much larger, with the journey of India as she found her voice, her confidence, and her place in this world. As we celebrate these first 100 years, we recognize that they're just chapters in a book that is still being written. The conclusion of our first century is simply the prologue to our next. Everyone here today carries a piece of that heritage, a reminder to my generation that while time and success are what we commemorate, it is the values protected by the last 4 generations that we inherit. Now, to kickstart this evening, I'm excited to invite on stage Neeraj Dadu to share how this journey began. He will take us back to 1926, to the very foundations and values of what we have come to cherish as Hamara Bajaj. Please join me in welcoming Neeraj Bajaj.
Good evening, friends, members of the Bajaj Parivar, and all our distinguished guests. आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है. Thank you for your gracious presence as we gather to celebrate a journey of 100 years. For a company, 100 years is significant. लेकिन भारत जैसे civilization के लिए ये सिर्फ एक chapter है. And when I look at the journey of Bajaj, one thing becomes very clear. The story of Bajaj and the story of India have never really been separate. In many ways, our destinies have been deeply intertwined. आज जब हम आत्मनिर्भरता की बात करते हैं, we must remember India's journey towards self-reliance did not begin recently. It began nearly a century ago when visionary Indians believed that Bharat must build for itself, produce for itself, and stand on its own feet. One of these pioneers was Jamnalal ji, our revered founder. My grandfather's philosophy of common good over individual gain shaped the group's decisions across generations. Jamnalal ji was a visionary and philanthropist and one of the greatest patriarchs of the freedom struggle. वो एक true nation builder थे and he shared a deep bond with Bapu, महात्मा गांधी जी. इतना करीब का रिश्ता था कि गांधी जी ने उन्हें अपना पांचवा पुत्र माना. Jamnalal ji espoused the trusteeship concept of management and took the unprecedented step of using business to serve the society. Gandhi ji wrote for Jamnalal ji, I quote, "Whenever I wrote of wealthy men becoming trustees of their wealth for the common good, I had always this merchant prince principally in mind. He placed his home, his resources, and his life in service of the nation. वर्धा में सेवाग्राम आश्रम की बुनियाद भी उन्हीं की भूमि पर रखी गई. His simple but powerful principle, कथनी करनी एक सी, walk the talk, यही सोच बजाज परिवार की पहचान बन गई. In those years, self-reliance was not just about political freedom. It was about building India's economic and industrial strength. It was this dream and vision that led to the foundation of many industries in the Bajaj Group. Dadaji's favorite mantra was, "It is not the kingdom I desire, nor heaven, nor even salvation. What I desire is the eradication of the sorrows of all living beings who are suffering." When Dadaji passed away, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel wrote, "Bapu has lost a true son, Janki Devi and the family a true shelter, the country a loyal servant, the Congress a stately pillar, the cow her true friend, and many institutions their patron, and we have lost a beloved blood brother." Wife of Jamnalal ji, Srimati Janki Devi Bajaj, was our country's first lady recipient of the Padma Vibhushan. If Jamnalal ji built the space, Dadi ji gave it its soul. She worked closely alongside leaders like Vinoba Bhave in the Bhudan and Kubdan movement. She did not possess more than possibly 3 white khadi saris. Thus, simplicity was the constant message in the Bajaj household. Jamnalal ji's philosophy was taken forward successfully by his sons Kamalnayan Bajaj and Ramkrishna Bajaj. Both of them were brought up under the eye of Mahatma Gandhi during their formative years. They preached that simple living and high thinking should be golden principles of life, and thus they lived an exemplary life of simplicity and dedication. Served the cause of business and industry with devotion and determination, and displayed an inherent quality of being ethical rather than materialistic. Thereafter, Shri Rahul Bajaj, a giant amongst corporate leaders, established a result-oriented yet human, ambitious yet honest organization. As industries grew and capabilities expanded, one thought remained constant: build in India, build for India, and build India. आज का भारत एक कॉन्फिडेंट भारत है, a nation whose voice is being heard more clearly across the world. And the Bajaj Group has always seen itself as a part of that voice. Bajaj's legacy is not of wealth, but of values, not of power, but purpose. If I may say in all humility, the story of the Bajaj family and Bajaj Group is inseparable from the interwoven story of India itself. With the blessings of our elders, we continue to be a joint family, with the 5th generation now having entered the business. It is therefore a matter of great pride for us that the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, has sent a special message on this occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, I request Nilima Bajaj Swami to read the message from the Honorable Prime Minister for all of us. Thank you.
Good evening. It is a matter of great honor for all of us that the Honorable Prime Minister has shared a special message on this occasion. I request Nirvan and Arav to please bring the letter to me. Thank you, Nirvan and Arav. On the occasion of the centenary of the Bajaj Group, I extend my greetings and best wishes to everyone associated with this milestone. 100 years is a significant journey for any institution. It reflects not only longevity, but also the ability to adapt to changing times, contribute to economic growth, and remain relevant across generations. Started under the leadership of Shri Jamnalal Bajaj, the Bajaj Group has been a part of India's industrial and economic landscape through many phases of our nation's development. It has grown into a diversified company with operations across various sectors, which serve customers both in India and across the world. Over the decades, the Bajaj Group has played an important role in nation building by creating jobs, fostering innovation, and supporting community development. Milestones such as this are an opportunity to reflect on key contributions, as well as to renew commitment towards growth, sustainability, and inclusive progress. India is moving forward with new aspirations in manufacturing, innovation, and global competitiveness. Institutions with deep roots and experience, such as the Bajaj Group, have an important role to play in shaping the journey towards Viksit Bharat by 2047. Greetings to everyone at the Bajaj Group, once again, on this memorable occasion. I am confident that the years ahead will be about continued progress and meaningful contributions to the nation's development. Shri Narendra Modi. On behalf of the entire Bajaj Parivar, we express our heartfelt gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister for his kind words and blessings. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Siddhant, and I'm here tonight to speak about someone who is very special to me. After hearing the Honorable Prime Minister's message and the stories about Bajaj's 100-year journey, I was thinking about one remarkable fact. When we speak about 100 years of Bajaj, one extraordinary truth stands out. 83 of those years were lived in the presence of one man. For most people in this room, he was a friend, an industry icon, a nation builder, a voice that spoke with clarity and conviction. But for some of us, he was Dada, Papa, Tauji, Bhaiya, and Nana. This man was none other than our late Chairman Shri Rahul Bajaj. The person who taught us values long before we ever understood balance sheets. Growing up, family conversations often revolved around factories, policies, boardrooms, and sometimes even battles fought for Indian industry. But the conversations didn't end there. The Dada we knew at home had another side. He loved bonding over our interests, watching all kinds of movies, having long conversations, and of course, as everyone who knew him well knew, enjoying good food and dessert. He had this wonderful ability to make everyone, young or old, family or not, feel that their opinions mattered. I remember once, as a teenager, trying to explain why I wanted to do my undergrad in computer science and artificial intelligence, something I thought would completely change the world. He listened patiently for a long time, but then he smiled and said, "Acha hai, बहुत काम आएगा, लेकिन एक बात याद रखना, technology बदलती रहती है, values नहीं." At that time, it sounded like simple advice, but over the years, I realized how profound that thought was. For Dada, values were never abstract ideas. They were something you practiced every single day, whether it was standing up for Indian industry or ensuring that Bajaj remained a name people trusted. He was very clear about this, and he always expressed it by saying, credibility depends on your track record, whether it's an individual, a corporate, or a government. Dada lived life by a very simple measure. He said, the real worth of a person is neither his wealth nor his power. It is the number of people who love and respect him. and whose lives he has influenced in a positive way. He believed deeply in a guiding idea that businesses had a duty not only to build institutions, but also to move the nation forward. And he lived that belief every single day. He always said, earlier, organizations made individuals. Today, individuals make organizations. I remember hearing stories about how Dada had taken the reins of Bajaj Auto in 1968, a young man, aged 30, stepping into enormous shoes. Little did we know, he'd stay in those shoes for the next 54 years. In Dada's own words, only fools retire. And how, over the next few decades, he turned it into one of the largest two-wheeler companies in the world. Chetak became a name every Indian household knew. There was a time when the waiting list for a Bajaj scooter stretched to years, and yet families waited because they trusted the name. Many of us remember how he would speak his mind, whether it was in an industry forum, a boardroom, or sometimes even in front of policymakers. He believed that if something needed to be said, it should be said clearly and honestly. In a room full of powerful people, he said what others only whispered. That was my Dada. It's this combination of courage, conviction, and consistency that shaped how the world came to see him, and why his contributions were recognized far beyond our family and group. He was honored with the Padma Bhushan and recognized with Lifetime Achievement Awards from CII and Harvard Business School. He remains the only person to have served as the president of CII twice. He sat on the advisory boards of the World Economic Forum, the Brookings Institution, Harvard Business School, and even the New York Stock Exchange, helping shape modern India and the world. But none of that, not one honor, not one title, ever seemed to change the man we knew at home. Today, as we, the next generation, stand here, we realize something even more clearly. Dada was not only building companies, he was building institutions. Institutions that instilled confidence in India. Confidence that Indian companies could compete with the best in the world. Confidence that Indian industry could speak with its own voice. Confidence that India could make a mark on the global stage. And confidence that values and success can go hand in hand. Over the next few moments, we'll see a few personal memories, some small stories from an extraordinary life. Stories that show the man behind the legend, the leader, the mentor, and for many of us, simply Dada. Please join us for the special heartfelt tribute to Shri Rahul Bajaj.
राहुल बजाज सिर्फ एक नाम नहीं, सिर्फ एक पहचान नहीं। राहुल बजाज एक सोच है, एक साहस है, उद्योग की दुनिया का मान और भारत देश का सम्मान है। बदलाव की एक ऐसी आंधी जिन्होंने सिर्फ एक कंपनी नहीं बनाई, राहुल बजाज ने एक नया इतिहास बनाया।
राहों पे अपनी चलते रहे, लाखों के सपने संग लिए। मंजिल नहीं थी
का एक घर जहां सच का साथ देना एक आदत थी, जहां आजादी एक सपना नहीं एक मकसद था। एक छोटा सा लड़का सच्चाई की इसी आदत, आजादी के इसी मकसद के साथ बड़ा हुआ और बन गया देश को एक नई दिशा देने वाला सारथी, राहुल बजाज। लेकिन इस निडर राहुल के अलावा एक नरम दिल राहुल और भी थे, जो सही राह दिखाने वाले पापा भी थे, गले लगाने वाले नाना जी भी थे, कहानियां सुनाने वाले दादाजी भी थे।
अपनों की खुशियों में थी मुस्कान, घर के आंगन में उनका जहां, छोटी छोटी रिश्तों की बड़ी पहचान, नाम से पहले दिखती इंसान, जो सूरज के आगे थे चट्टान, घर के चिरागों पर देते थे जान।
बीते कल का हाथ थाम के आने वाले कल के सामने भारत देश को तेज रफ्तार से नई सदी में ले जाने वाले राहुल बजाज की असली विरासत है उनकी हिम्मत, उनकी ताकत और उनका आत्मविश्वास। कुछ लोग जाते नहीं, बस बुलंद होते जाते हैं। राहुल बजाज, आप थे, आप हैं, आप हमेशा बुलंद रहेंगे। हमारा राहुल। हमारा राहुल।
I think I, Nirav, speak for everyone in this room when I say that was a lot to feel all at once. Rahul Tauji was, well, he was one of a kind. And moments like these remind you that some people leave behind not just memories, but a certain standard, a way of carrying yourself, a way of speaking your mind, even when the room is not ready to hear it. And now, as every evening moves forward, it does what every good journey does. It builds. Because the story of Bajaj was never meant to stay within borders. From the very beginning, there was an ambition in this family that was always larger than the moment it was living in. Always looking at the next horizon. Always asking, what else is possible? What else can we do? What more can we build? The question, in many ways, has defined the next chapter of our story. And there's no one better placed to speak about that chapter than the person I'm about to invite on stage. I have watched him make his own decisions and back his convictions with remarkable clarity. Please join me in welcoming Rajiv Bajaj.
Friends of my family and families of my friends, good evening, a very warm welcome. Before I begin, I discovered that many people here are a little amused about my t-shirt, but then that's me, often wrong, but impossible to ignore. So in welcoming you today, I thought I would share a few thoughts with you about my three passions. And when I say three passions, most people seem to think that they might be scooters and motorcycles and three-wheelers, but they are not. My three personal passions are dogs, homeopathy, and yoga. I was fortunate to be a student of Yogacharya Guruji, B.K.S. Iyengar in Pune. And Guruji once said to me, in yoga as in life, there is pain only if the direction of your movement is flawed. When he said to me something like that in August 2012, my mind went back to 1993. I had been working at Bajaj for 3 years by then, having joined in 1990. And one afternoon, with no particular direction in sight, I asked my father what it was that he would like me to be doing at Bajaj. And he said to me, my father said to me, do what you think best, but be the best in what you do. The engineer in me was a little perplexed at this management gyan from Harvard Business School. So I probed a little further. What does it mean to be the best? I remember he said then, this is 23 years ago, we aren't able to export anything. Everything that we make is sold in this market. If we were to export at least 10% of what we make, I'd say that we are world class, we are one of the best. Now my objective was clear, but I wondered, where do I begin? Yet again, friends, my father showed me the way. A few months later, at our AGM, in response to a shareholder comment, he retorted, I have 10,000 people in all of Bajaj, but Honda has 10,000 people in R&D alone. I was 27 then. For me, friends, it was a career-defining moment. In contemplating the image of this 500-pound Honda gorilla, my favorite marketing mantra dawned upon me. When in trouble, narrow your focus. That's the day that we decided as a company that in order to focus every man, every rupee, every minute on creating high-tech motorcycles for the world, Bajaj would have to exit all the cheap two-wheelers that it was making up until then for the domestic market. In doing so, I think that we were unwittingly acknowledging the wisdom of the donkey Dumbledore, who said, more than our abilities, it is the choices that we make that determine what we become in our lives. It was a path that eventually led to the launch of the first Bajaj motorcycle, the Pulsar, in November 2001, less than 25 years ago, and simultaneously to the hitherto unimaginable cessation of all scooter manufacturing by 2005, including that of the Chetak that my father unfairly referred to as his favorite son. So, while as a global motorcycle maker, Bajaj is less than 25 years old, I think all of you here will be very proud to know that since 2021, we are by market cap, by far, the world's most valuable two-wheeler maker ever. And it all began with a laser choice honed by my father's astute direction. Friends, as we firmly established our R&D over the 90s, rapidly developing our own technology at a time when the norm was to license it from one multinational or the other. I remember I was about 30 then, and the youthful 30-year-old Rajkumar in me would say to people, हमको रोक सके ज़माने में दम कहाँ, हमसे होगी टेक्नोलॉजी, टेक्नोलॉजी से हम नहीं. And that's how we started developing our own technology. Armed with our second-to-none technology, Bajaj is now the world's third largest motorcycle maker. It is the world's biggest three-wheeler maker. It is India's #1 electric vehicle maker by revenue, Piyush Bhai. We are India's #1 electric vehicle maker by revenue. And we proudly export half of all that we make to 108 countries across continents with a dominant top 2 position in most. I believe this is why India's Hamara Bajaj, that in the process of exporting almost 35 million, that is 350 lakh 2 and 3 wheelers, has generated innumerable jobs and invaluable foreign exchange, and is beyond her borders proud to wear the tag of the world's favorite Indian. Sorry, Amir, that's not you. That's not even Shahrukh. That's not even Mahi. And in terms of being the world's favorite Indian, that's not even Modi ji. Iska IP mere paas hai. I think, friends, this feat is a resounding endorsement of what is rather underestimated and even less acknowledged. Something that I have witnessed repeatedly confirmation of over multiple conversations with European suppliers ever since our recent acquisition of KTM motorcycles. And it is this: when it comes to manufacturing value-added engineering products, India's competitiveness outshines China's, outperforms Vietnam's, and outruns Thailand's. And the credit for that, in my view, goes less to the Indian politician or the Indian business person, and more to the sheer scale of the Indian market and the sterling skills of Indian engineers. So as one of millions of such Indian engineers, now I am not so youthful, I am 60. So the not so youthful 60-year-old in me now tells my team, हमको रोक सके ज़माने में टैरिफ नहीं, भारत को क्यों किसी का डर जब हमसे है वो आत्मनिर्भर. Friends, beneath the veneer of pride in my country and its people and beyond Bajaj Auto, these 25 years have told me a deeper story about the ethos of the Bajaj Group that I feel appropriate to share with all of you today on the occasion of this 100-year milestone. And that is the sublime realization that the true reward for man's toil is not what he gets for it, but what he becomes by it. This 25-year-old journey of taking India to the world on a Bajaj that started as being an exercise in business has rapidly become an experience in oneness. Because slowly but surely, as one motorcycle after another wove its way from one market to another, we realized that it is less we who were venturing out and more the world that was welcoming us. Remember the words of Rumi, "You do not sow, the earth receives." The world accepted us not just basis objective meritocracy, but at the very root of the root, I believe, basis pure humanity. Nowhere have I witnessed that sentiment to be better translated into reality than in the care that, supported by our CSR, my wife Deepa, Kavita, Dhanashri, Lolita, offer tens of thousands of dogs. They exemplify the compassionate wisdom of Ramana, who, in response to being asked, "How should we treat others?" said, "There are no others." But more on that from Nirav shortly. In closing, friends, I'd like to leave you with this distillation from our global ride. We had set out to conquer the world, but find that we have actually ended up surrendering to the universe. 25 years of learning at the University of the Universe has taught us more than anything else that we do not do. It is done through us. We are but grateful tools at the disposal of fortunate circumstances. I cannot help but feel a deep sense of satisfaction that in so wandering around the world, we have helped my father walk his talk of being the best in whatever one chooses to do. In the words of Jamnalalji, "Kathni karni, ek si." Of course, having set this fine example myself, I am now hoping that Rishabh will similarly help me to walk my talk. But that is a story for another day. To capture the spirit of our story, we looked for a storyteller with soul. And thanks to my ever-resourceful friend Saurabh Verma, who is somewhere here today, we finally found an exemplary one. Hamara Bajaj ka Hamara Raju. Raju bhai is not here, but I would like to say to him, it is said that when love and skill combine, expect a masterpiece. My family and I, Saurabh, please tell Raju I said this. My family and I are indebted to him for his masterful labor of love and skill for us. Friends, I am now proud to share Raju Hirani's masterpiece for us with all of you. A few days ago, my instant reaction after I saw it for the first time was, "You just can't beat a Raju," just as 40 years ago my father proclaimed, "You just can't beat a Bajaj." This film represents the debut performance of all of its stars from the Bajaj family. तो थोड़ा मतलब expectation कम रखिए, थोड़ा दिल खोल के ताली बजाइए, थोड़ा मुंह खोल के सीटी बजाइए. Thank you once again, everyone, for your presence today. Thank you.
बापू, आपने इतना कुछ दिया देश को, फिर भी लोग आपको बोलते जा रहे हैं। देखिए, कोई भी आपको बाय बोल के नहीं चाहता।
वी आर रिटायर्ड आत्मास जमनालाल, रिटायर ही रहिए। जब मरे हुए लोग जिंदा लोगों की लाइफ में इंटरफियर करते हैं ना, तो भूत कहलाते हैं।
बापू, आप मुझे अपना मुंह बोला बेटा मानते हैं। मेरे लिए इतना तो पता लगाइए कि मेरे पोते आपके बताए सिद्धांतों का पालन कर रहे हैं या नहीं। कमल नैन, रामकृष्ण, मधुर और राहुल को तो मैं सिखा कर आया था। कथनी करनी एक सी, जो कहो वो करो। उन्होंने बच्चों को आगे सिखाया कि नहीं, पता नहीं बापू।
जिद्दी हो। मानोगे नहीं ना।
100 साल बीत गए बापू, एक बार तो अपने पोतों का रिपोर्ट कार्ड चेक करना बनता है।
मोरे,
बापू, आप बाहर कैसे आ गए बापू?
बेटा, बजाज परिवार का रिपोर्ट कार्ड लेने आया हूँ। देखना है यहाँ बापू की कोई वैल्यू है या सिर्फ बापू के फोटो की।
नहीं नहीं बापू, बजाज परिवार में कोई बाप की सुने या ना सुने, बापू की सब सुनते हैं। आप टेंशन मत लीजिए बापू, आप जाइए फोटो में वापस।
अब तो पूरा काम करके ही जाऊंगा बेटा। जाओ, राजीव को बुलाओ यहाँ।
हाँ। सर, मोहनदास जी आए हैं।
कौन मोहनदास? एडवोकेट?
हाँ, एडवोकेट है, पर वो अपने लीगल वाले नहीं है। वो मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी। बापू बापू।
आओ राजीव। बेटा, ये क्या? हमें तो अंग्रेजी वस्तुओं का बहिष्कार करना था और तुम अंग्रेजी बाइक पे बजाज का स्टिकर लगा के बेच रहे हो।
बापू, ये अंग्रेजी नहीं, देसी बाइक है। 100% स्वदेशी। इसको इंपोर्ट नहीं, एक्सपोर्ट करते हैं। अंग्रेजों से खरीदी नहीं है, उनको बेच रहे हैं।
108 देशों में बेचते हैं बापू। आपके साउथ अफ्रीका में तो एकदम सुपर हिट है ये।
We are world's most favorite Indian now, बापू।
ये कब हुआ? वर्ल्ड्स फेवरेट इंडियन तो मैं था। इस स्कूटर का क्या हुआ? राहुल ने इतनी शिद्दत से बनाया था। हमारा बजाज। यू मस्ट नेवर फॉरगेट योर रूट्स राजीव।
कभी नहीं बापू। वो देखिए, अब ये इलेक्ट्रिक बन गया है, ई चेतक। आप ही ने सिखाया था ना, ग्रीन इंडिया।
जमनालाल खुश होंगे ये जानकर कि तुम मेरे दिखाए हुए मार्ग पे चल रहे हो।
मैं तो रोज आपके मार्ग पे ही चलता हूं बापू, एमजी रोड।
नटखट हो। मोरे, चलो संजीव के पास। पहचाना?
हम फाइनेंस वाले आपको कैसे नहीं पहचानेंगे? आप तो हर नोट पे हो और हम तो वही काम करते हैं जो आप करते थे।
वो कैसे बेटा?
आइए बताता हूं। आपने देश को फ्रीडम दिलाई, हम देशवासियों को फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम दिलाए। साल में करीबन 60 लाख से भी ज्यादा लोगों को हम उनका पहला लोन, इंश्योरेंस, होम लोन और एफडी भी देते हैं।
देश के फ्रीडम में ईएमआई नहीं लगता था बेटा। जोक है। आगे बोलो।
बापू, बिजनेस के अलावा भी हम स्पोर्ट्स, म्यूजिक और आर्ट रिलेटेड फील्ड्स में काम कर रहे हैं। देश को आइकॉन्स दिलाने में लगे।
वेल प्लेड संजीव। मोरे, चलो नीरज और शेखर के पास।
चलो।
खादी जैकेट मुझे इम्प्रेस करने के लिए पहन लिया।
नहीं बापू, ये सालों से खादी पहन रहे हैं।
तो शेखर बेटा बताओ, तुम क्या कर रहे हो देश के लिए? थोड़ा जल्दी बताना, वापस भी जाना है।
Hello. Bajaj Beyond, it's a national CSR vertical. We are creating scalable social ecosystems to empower human capital through vocational upskilling, sustainable livelihood creation and inclusive rural transformation models across multi-sectoral partnerships.
मैं पुराने नेटवर्क का आदमी हूँ, इतना बफर नहीं कर पाऊंगा।
सिंपल में बोले तो बापू, आपके जैसे देश को चरखा चलाना सिखा रहे हैं। स्किल डेवलपमेंट, जैसे बाइक रिपेयर, सोलर पैनल लगवाना या कंप्यूटर चलाना, इस टाइप में।
बजाज बियॉन्ड से देश के 2 करोड़ से भी ज्यादा यंगस्टर्स के स्किल्स डेवलप होंगे बापू।
अरे बियॉन्ड का मतलब क्या हुआ नीरज?
जो काम बियॉन्ड बिजनेस होता है बापू, मतलब फॉर नेशन, फॉर सोसाइटी।
हाँ, इसीलिए बजाज बियॉन्ड।
अच्छा। नीरव, तुम इतने चुप क्यों हो?
बापू, आप ही ने कहा था ना, speak only if it improves upon the silence. And silence with you was so good.
साइलेंस अच्छा है, लेकिन देश को बदलने के लिए कभी-कभी थोड़ा शोर मचाना पड़ता है।
शोर तो मचा रहे हैं बापू, पर अपनी करनी से। आज हम देश के हेल्थ सेक्टर में भी आत्मनिर्भर बनने की कोशिश में लगे हैं।
आ रहा हूँ। निकलना होगा, जमुना लाल बेचैन हो रहा है।
लेकिन बापू, जाने से पहले एक ग्रुप फोटो तो बनता है।
ले लो।
क्या रिपोर्ट लाए हैं बापू?
बाहर तो जमुनालाल केमिकल लोचा हो गया है। 100 साल बाद भी बच्चों के दिमाग में हमारे ही सिद्धांत घूम रहे हैं। आज भी जो कहते हैं वही करते हैं। कथनी करनी एक सी है।
Good evening, everyone. I am Rishabh, and it is a privilege to be speaking in front of you here today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you're having a wonderful evening so far. You know, when I first saw this film, I really didn't know what to expect from it. I definitely had very high expectations, because I know that it was being directed by the one and only Mr. Raju Hirani. But having seen and grown up around a lot of the family members up close and personally, I would be lying if I told you I did not have my doubts about the end product. Thank God for AI, isn't it, nowadays? Jokes aside, what I certainly did not expect was to find myself laughing at Bapu cracking jokes, and yet, moments later, feeling emotions as far from laughter as they can get. I think the reason for that was that underneath all that warmth and humor, there was a very simple yet an important message, which my great-great-grandfather, Jamnalalji, was probably waiting for decades and decades to ask us. Are we still living by what he taught us today? Katni, Karni, Eksi. As I stand here today, I am reminded of the legacy that was built by my ancestors, by my elders, and my family members over here. And it makes me immensely proud to be part of their lineage. Something noteworthy that is integral to the Bajaj Group, which goes far beyond financial services and factories, is what this family does beyond business. For skills, for communities, for health. For the India that doesn't always make the headlines, but nonetheless deserves every bit of our attention. Please let me invite on stage someone to tell you some more about this. Please welcome onto stage Mr. Nirav Bajaj.
Good evening. What we just watched was a story of 100 years. But if I'm being honest, the part of that story that always stayed with me the most is not what we built, but why we built it. Because in our family, there has always been one question. When we grow, does society grow with us? And the truth is, that question is not new. It goes back to Jamnalalji. He believed that business was not separate from society, that profit was not the end goal, but the means. In fact, he said very clearly, business should be pursued with a view to benefit the poor. Or, as often we say within the family, society must profit from profit itself. And very often, that has meant ensuring that growth reaches even the poorest of the poor. Over time, this thinking evolved, not into charity, but into responsibility. And this didn't begin recently. In 1914, Jamnalalji established Shiksha Mandal in Wardha to build individuals who would serve society with a purpose. In 1977, the Jamnalal Bajaj Foundation was set up to take forward Gandhian work in a more structured way. So this idea of building alongside society has always been part of Bajaj. What has changed is the scale. Across the country, we have supported over 250 education initiatives, focusing not just on access, but on quality. In places like Shahpur, over 1 lakh first-generation students have completed school. That's not just education, that is a generational shift. In skilling, across Bajaj Auto and Bajaj FinServe, we've worked with over 4 to 5 lakh individuals, young people, women, first-time earners, because skills don't just create jobs, they create choices. In healthcare, from rural outreach to advanced institutions like Kamal Nayan Bajaj Hospital, the effort has always been the same, to bring quality care within reach of those who need it the most. Often that means serving people at the very margins, the poorest of the poor. Then there are challenges that don't always make headlines, like water. Across hundreds of villages, Our water conservation work has helped create year-round access, improve farm productivity, and strengthen rural livelihoods. And alongside that, through Paryavaran Mitra, we have focused on protecting the environment because growth cannot come at the cost of sustainability. There are also quieter, deeply human stories. Through Hamara Sapna, women in urban communities have moved towards financial independence. Through Shabdam, we have worked to preserve Indian language, literature, and culture. And through canine control and care, we have tried to extend care to those without a voice. Because as Rahul Tauji said, society without compassion is a bleak one indeed. If you step back and look at all of this together, it begins to look less like CSR and more like a parallel system of nation building, a way where growth and responsibility go hand in hand. And that brings us to what comes next, because the India we are stepping into is very different from the one we started in. It's younger, more connected, more ambitious, which means the question for us evolves from how do we give back to how do we enable at scale. And that is what Bajaj Beyond is about. Not a new idea, but a next expression of a 100-year philosophy. An effort to take everything we have learned and build models that can scale across India, across education, across livelihoods, across sustainability, with a clear ambition to enable and impact over 2 crore young Indians in the next 5 years. Because if the first 100 were about building institutions, the next 100 will be about building ecosystems. And if we get that right, we will continue to be part of something larger, the story of India, not just as participants, but as enablers. And maybe that is what the voice of India truly sounds like. Thank you.
Friends and family, so far we've heard about where we came from, we've laughed with Bapu, we've seen how this family's roots grow far, deep, and wide beyond the realms of just business and India, and have over decades grown to touch every corner of this globe in many different ways. I've just watched my father walk onto the stage and speak about the things which I have heard him discuss with my grandfathers, my uncles, and other members of the family growing up. But somehow, hearing it here in your presence made it feel even more special. I think that's what this evening has done for all of us in the Bajaj Parivar, to make the simple feel extraordinary. Everything that you've heard so far has been about the foundation, the values, the legacies, and the world that we have already built. The next chapter is the world we aspire to and strive towards building. And if the first 100 years were proving that an Indian family can stand alongside its nation far before it achieved independence, the next chapter is about something even more ambitious. It's about building on that path to pioneer the future. The next speaker is a man who has a remarkable way of making you feel that the future is not something that happens to you, but you go out there and build for yourself. He is and represents the next chapter of our voice of India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto stage Mr. Sanjeev Bajaj.
respected leaders from industry and public life, our distinguished guests, and members of the Bajaj Parivar. Thank you for being a part of this evening that is so special to us. We have seen the journey of our century. Jamnalal ji ke ideals, Bharat ki industrial journey, and the story of Bajaj, which has evolved along with our nation. However, this evening is not only about the last 100 years. This evening raises another question. Agla chapter kaise hoga? History mein kabhi-kabhi aise moments aa jate hain when everything starts aligning. Policies align ho jati hai, technology starts maturing, and the entire nation's energy starts flowing in the same direction. I believe our country now stands at that very moment. The stars are aligning, the dots are connecting, और दुनिया अब वो देख रही है जो हम हमेशा से मानते आए हैं, that the future belongs to India. What a moment to be an Indian. My father would often say, I firmly believe in the idea of India, in its diversity and its enterprising youth. And perhaps this is that moment. Because the next chapter of India's rise will not be written only through its factories and its balance sheets. वो लिखा जाएगा टेक्नोलॉजी से, वो लिखा जाएगा इनोवेशन से, and most importantly, वो लिखा जाएगा हमारे नौजवानों से. At Bajaj, we don't see AI just as a technology trend. We see it as a powerful force that will further financial inclusion. क्योंकि access to finance means access to opportunity. जब एक young entrepreneur को अपने आइडिया में इन्वेस्ट करने का कॉन्फिडेंस आता है, जब एक स्मॉल बिजनेस अपना स्केल बढ़ाता है, जब एक फैमिली को इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए कॉन्फिडेंस मिलती है, तब सिर्फ एक इंडिविजुअल नहीं बढ़ता, पूरा देश आगे बढ़ता है एआई के इस दौर में. But as Jamnalal ji always said, good intentions, unless translated into practice, are worthless. Hence, turning intent into action, we are building deep partnerships with the best domestic and global institutions to build research capability and high-tech, affordable, AI-driven solutions. और हमारी objective simple है, not to copy the world, but to shape the future together. क्योंकि हमारी ambition भी simple है, to help build India into a global power. और अगर यह अगली सेंचुरी इंडिया की होने वाली है, तो हर जनरेशन को अपनी वॉइस ऑफ इंडिया ढूंढनी होगी. A voice that reflects our confidence, our resoluteness, and our limitless ambition. A nation's voice is found in many forms. Its dance, its art, and its music. These are more than just expressions. They end up being platforms for human potential. For over a century, we have viewed our businesses exactly through the same lens, as platforms that offer hope, freedom, and entrepreneurship. We believe that when potential is given a stage, the entire nation moves forward. Today, we are honored to host an extraordinary creator, a 3 times Grammy Award winner, who has composed all the music that you've been hearing this evening. He now presents a musical tapestry of the intertwined destinies of India and Bajaj, and a true expression of the voice of progress. Please join me in welcoming Ricky Kej as he presents the Symphony of Us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. A special thank you to the Bajaj family for trusting me with your absolutely amazing and spectacular legacy. Thank you for making me feel a part of your wonderful family. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Vanraj Anant Bajaj. And yes, I'm the youngest speaker here by quite a lot. Tonight has been really special for me. I've heard some amazing stories, watched a beautiful film, and saw one of the best performances ever. And now it's my turn to invite someone very, very special to the stage. He is my Dadu. And for me, he's not just my Dadu, he's someone I really look up to in our family. Currently, he is the eldest, and that means a lot to all of us. It is my honor and an absolute privilege to invite my Dadu to the stage. Please welcome Shri Shekhar Bajaj.
Namaskar. Members of the Bajaj Parivar, our distinguished guests and dear friends, thank you for being here this evening. आज का ये सफ़र पर नज़र डालते हुए गर्व होता है, परंतु कुछ याद आती है जिससे दिल भर आता है. We miss Rahul Bhai and Rupa Bhavi a lot. We also miss Madhur, Sunaina and Anant immensely. Listening to all the speakers, one thought stayed with me. What truly holds all these ideas together? What is the foundation of this journey? And if we trace it back, where would we go? The answer lies in a small town in the heart of India near Nagpur. It is Wardha. Not just a place in the map, but the place where the soul of our 100-year journey lies. And perhaps even before that journey truly began, there was a moment in Wardha that made it possible. In 1894, Seth Bajaj Bajaj and his wife Saddi Bai adopted a young 4-year-old boy Jamnalal from a humble farming family in Rajasthan and brought him to Bajaj household in Wardha. It was a quiet act, but a defining one, because had that not taken that step, this 100-year journey would not have been celebrated today, may never have begun. And it was here in Wardha that Jamnalal went on to live and practice a very simple idea, that business and service in society cannot be separated. Today, we speak of CSR as something structured and measurable. For him, it was instinctive. Whatever you build must be for the use of society. When he asked Gandhiji in 1922 to accept him as his son, Gandhiji said, "I am giving nothing. You are the giver." From then onward, Jamnalalji became known as Gandhi's fifth son. In a short but extraordinary life, his work spanned society, social equity, education for women and children, rural upliftment, promotion of khadi, abolition of parda, dowry, child marriage, go seva, and wholehearted participation in the freedom movement. उन्होंने देश के लिए अपने तन, मन और धन का दान दिया. He was guided by Gandhiji and Vinoba Bhave and supported by his wife Janki Devi. He opposed untouchability by welcoming Dalits into his own home. In 1928, the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir in Wardha was open to all castes, a step that was almost unthinkable at that time. It was the first temple in India to be open to the Dalits. Wardha became the center of India's freedom movement when Jamnalalji invited Gandhiji to establish the Sevagram ashram there in the 30s. Soon leaders like Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Patel, Sarojini Naidu, Maulana Azad, Subhash Chandra Bose came to attend Congress Working Committee meetings there. They stayed at Bajaj Wadi and Atithi Niwas, place that continue to stand even today as symbol of service and hospitality. Jamnalalji's vision extended beyond political freedom to inner freedom through education, ethics and harmony. You see it in places like the Gitai Mandir, which is without idols and barriers, and the Vishwa Shanti Stoop reminded us that peace is the foundation of progress. Even today, Wardha remains a hub of education, rural development, and social innovation. Institutions like Shiksha Mandal, Mahila Ashram, and the Rashtrabhasha Prachar Samiti continue to empower generations. So what does it all mean for us today? That true legacy lies not in what we build for ourselves, but we have built for society. And Jamnalalji's legacy is now our responsibility. As I close, I would like to leave you with two things. First, an invitation to visit Wardha. Come and experience its simplicity and strength. The Sevagram Ashram, the Paunar Ashram, the Lakshmi Narayan Temple, Bajaj Wadi, Atithi Niwas, Khadi Sangrahalaya, and many other institutions that continue his living legacy. And a second, a question, should success be measured only in numbers and scale, or is it the lives touched, values upheld, and communities strengthened? As we step into the next 100 years of Bajaj, perhaps the answer to that question will define the institution we continue to build. Before I conclude, I would like to acknowledge and thank Rajkumar Hirani, Ricky Kej, Kabir Bedi, he was to come, Kaushar, Munir, Wizcraft, Wonder Lab, members of the media, our F&B partners, the team from Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Bhavan, for bringing this evening together so thoughtfully. To mark this historic milestone, we'll be now unveiling the Bajaj Group Centennial logo. After that, I would like to welcome all of you heartedly for dinner, which would be on the right side. Thank you.
As the celebrations continue, dinner will be served at the Palace Hall's dining area. Please proceed towards the gate located to the left of your exit.